The old goose in crime, Sambo from Fluid Social. Sambo, where are we sitting and what are we doing?
That's a very good question. Neither of which I really have a good answer for.
Well,
we're somewhere in Brazil. We're sitting at what I assume is our living room table, and we're going to talk about actually the process of learning, I suppose, what it is and some of the misconceptions about what it means to actually get better, as opposed to some of the ideas that people have about getting better. Because we were having this conversation a few minutes ago. I think, well, to get started, the example that we stumbled upon a few minutes ago was the one of one-itis. In other words, the idea that you, as a beginner, certainly as a beginner or someone that doesn't have a lot of experience going out and talking to women, you start to find that you'll meet a girl and you'll feel really, really invested in her. And the more you think about her, the more you think about her. And she starts to become a sort of propaganda machine in your mind where you just keep thinking about her like the great McDonald's arches. You see them once, don't think anything of it. Again, and by the evening, you're 2 mac and cheeses down. Mac and cheese?
Mac and cheese from McDonald's? McFlurries, maybe.
3 McFlurries. Let's go for that. 3 McFlurries down. And there's this kind of misconception, which I think probably is from the beginning of the PUA era with Mystery and Ross Jeffries and that you're sort of searching to be the perfect person. You're searching to overcome approach anxiety once and for all, to overcome any of the problems that you once had as a beginner and achieve the pickup artist equivalent of enlightenment. And in my experience, at least, the truth of that situation is very different. And rather than getting to this point where you no longer ever feel approach anxiety, you no longer ever overinvest yourself in one girl, you no longer ever send the wrong thing on a text message. It's more a process of managing those feelings and those emotions, right? So taking that example of getting obsessive about one girl, that one-itis as the pickup artist.
Which still happens to us. It's a misnomer to say that just because you've been doing this for a while, you don't fall into the same trap.
Yeah, so that's the point. It's a complete misnomer. And instead of actually avoiding that altogether and never finding yourself really thinking about one girl, what happens is you recognise when you're doing it and you learn ways to manage it.
So what we're really talking about is neediness.
Yeah.
Across as needy.
Yeah. So neediness, particularly as it relates to sort of one woman that you're really thinking about.
Mark Manson used a great example from his book Models, which we both recommend highly as quite a complete guide to all this stuff. He's a smart dude, but
I've never read it.
Oh, okay. I think it's brilliant. But he talks about the equivalent of, a man without neediness to a woman is like the equivalent of us seeing a girl on the beach with a perfect face, perfect body, and perfect tits. If there's a hint of neediness, we probably, I don't know, guys listening out there, you may have had it where a girl's super into you, and it doesn't matter how hot she is, there's this almost sticky feeling of, God, why is she so into me? And it's off-putting, right?
Yeah.
I believe you multiply that by 100 the other way around. And if there's any hints of neediness, once you cross that barrier, it's very, very, very hard, if not impossible, to kind of reverse the damage that's done. The early stages typically are where we need to kind of, I don't want to say gameplay, because it implies like a load of like magic tricks that don't work, but I think we need to hold ourselves back a bit in that early courtship process, because if we give hint of like, we're too into the girl, we're too available, the girl loses interest. And often what we find we do is when it's our perfect type looks-wise, or for some reason we find her incredibly attractive because she's got this intoxicating combination of slightly high drama and feminine and stuff like that, draws us in. There's a tendency I see amongst students and also myself on a personal level to invest too much too early. Yeah. And there's no, in my opinion, there's not really much going back from that.
No. Yeah. Well, so that is the point, is that happens to you, that happens to me, just occasionally, just as it will happen to all of you guys and anybody, particularly beginners starting out. So I think it's probably going to be helpful for everyone when you find yourself in that situation, right? You're someone that goes out on a regular basis and approaches women and you continue to get leads. A lot of the guys watching won't be, but even as someone that has continuously, you're talking to women and you're getting new numbers and dating new women, when you find yourself in a position where you're becoming needy or you're over investing in one woman, you recognize that you're doing it. What's the next step?
Yeah, well, I think that's that. Like most of the stuff within game and within getting better in life in general, it's conscious recognition and living in reality. Like actually realizing that's the thing. A lot of guys do the old ostrich. They bury their head in the sand and pretend it's not happening, and they give themselves excuses. They're like, "Oh yeah, but it's good for me to check that she's home safe." And what they find is they're changing their behaviour based on the girl, and it shouldn't be like that. It's play the game, for want of a better phrase, not the individual girl. Don't start changing because she's hot. Don't start changing because you feel more into her. And that's one of the things to just be consciously aware about. Act the same.
Just to add to that before I forget. So that's the idea that essentially, if this woman was ever attracted to you, it's because she recognised that you had some values or some principles. Mm-hmm. If you then compromise those values and those principles in order to win her affection or attention, she can no longer feel attracted to you because the very things that attracted her in the first place, you're now compromising to win her attention.
You're putting out a different gambit, a different version of yourself. And that's not what she signed up to.
No, she
didn't. So I think the first thing is consciously realising. Also, just understanding yourself to a large degree. Like, we know when we're being needy, as much as we probably pretend we don't. We know when we're acting needy. We know when we're feeling needy. For me, one of the times I used to blow up when I was learning this stuff, one of the times I used to torpedo myself was after a big night of beers, or maybe some extracurricular substances, and I'm feeling like hollowed out from the inside, emotionally very low, pitting myself, victim mindset. It's text all these women to try and always get like this response of, oh, it's okay, baby, trying to look for that external like to soothe my neediness, like when I'm feeling like low and my life's like shit, and that would torpedo stuff because they can just kind of understand the intent behind the message, and they know you're being a fucking clown, like loser.
Yeah, it's easy. I see why people believe in the sort of metaphysical ideas of a woman knows, even if she's not talking to you, if you're being needy. I can see why people might believe that. But actually, even in a very physical and grounded way, it's even little things like she looks on WhatsApp, sees you're online, and you're not messaging her, she thinks, oh, he's online talking to someone and it's not me. And it doesn't need to be metaphysical for women to notice small changes in behaviour, in the tone of your voice, in over-punctuating or over-thinking about the messages you're sending.
Right.
It doesn't need to be anything metaphysical. We give away hints over time that we're feeling needy or we're in a bad state of mind, and you can never fill up your own self-love with the validation of others. If you hate yourself, you're never going to be able to attract the love of others. And after the old banter bus bender routine, it's difficult to feel a strong sense of self-love.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We both know two guys in common. We're not going to mention who they are, but they're interesting cases for different reasons. One of them is a very successful man in his own right, but one of the things I've noticed from spending time with him is he comes across incredibly needy with women. Yeah. And it's often due to the fact he'll go, even if he listens to this, he'll probably agree with me to a large degree, but he'll go 3-6 months working on his business, not speaking to women, and then he'll come out and he'll automatically just sweat this neediness, because as soon as a hot girl's interested in him, he's over-texting her, he's trying to get her on the phone, and women just run a mile. And it's crazy, because on the face of it, he's got a lot of value, a very high sexual market value, should we say. It's something he's working at and getting better at, and he's improving on. But it would be crazy, like seeing how much he would torpedo girls that were into him just because he was too available.
100%. The thing to say about him, just to sort of extend that point, is that fortunately he's in a position where he's set up his life so that if he improves this area, which he is, and fixes this one thing, he's literally got the full deck of cards.
Yeah.
Like he's all aces, right?
The ace of spades.
So that's the thing that you guys have got to think.
Looks like he's been dropped on his face as a baby from 10 foot. Nah, joke. If you're listening to this, you're not that bad looking. Although you could do with losing that gun, mate. Come on. You used to be in good shape back in the Sweden days. I don't know what's happened to you.
Stop it. Enough of this. But so if you are in that position where you are experiencing this neediness and you haven't worked on the other areas of your life, you're not healthy, you're not maintaining some sort of discipline, routine, some sort of focus on your business, and you're needy with women, it's going to be that much harder to get anywhere. You're stuck in a hole and you need to start crawling out, right?
Completely agree. And a lot of guys I work with, including myself, when I got into this thinking a hot woman is going to solve my life problems.
Yeah.
So I was like, I bang a few hot women, date a few hot women, my problems will be solved. It's not true at all. I was going on dates with hot women, and they're asking, what do you do in your spare time? And I was having to make shit up, and that is not an attractive reality to be living. If your reality sucks that you're living in 8-10 hours a day, women are not going to be attracted to that, and it's all very well sleeping with a girl once, but most guys, they want to date attractive, high-value girls. You have to be enjoying your own reality because they jump into your reality. They see what you're all about. You know, if you get married, they take on your last name. They have your kids. You have to have your shit sorted in life. So, yeah, a lot of guys come into this thinking getting a hot girl is going to sort their problems out. It doesn't work like that. It
absolutely doesn't. You're
still the same lad after it. You know, however hot the girl is, you have sex with, it's still the same bloke, still got the same problems. You can't outsource your happiness. You've got to solve those issues.
And it comes back to the trifecta of the wealth, health, and the love, right?
Yeah.
If you've got some sort of balance split between focusing on your physical and mental health, your wealth and your potential to build wealth, your social, familial, and romantic relationships, then everything becomes easier, and each one feeds each other.
Yeah, I'd agree. Going back to kind of things you can do to prevent yourself being needy. I mean, for me, it's always just going open more girls. I know it sounds like a fucking thing to do, but I think the thing that guys loathe the most of alcohol approach is actually approaching.
I agree.
It's very rare to find someone who genuinely enjoys it, but you know, actually going through deleting your leads, not keeping yourself like validated by like, oh, having a list of girls that you've been meshing in Brazil where you've actually asked them out 2 or 3 times and not coming out. They're not interested. They're going to keep you around to just chat to occasionally as validation objects for themselves, but they're not interested in you. You didn't do enough value. Maybe they've got a boyfriend. It doesn't matter. Delete those numbers out of sight, out of mind, and then actually go through your phone book. Like for me, for example, we're recording this on a Friday evening in Rio. I have 0 leads now of girls I want to see or that are interested in me. So I know I have to go out this weekend and go and approach some more girls. Yeah. And that process never stops. So just if you are feeling needy about one girl, going out and just speaking to some other women.
100%.
Even if you're not banging them, it doesn't matter. Just flirting with them. Women can sense you flirting with other women. Women can sense you're a man with options. And that's attractive.
So a really easy way. Let's change the situation slightly. So let's say, because some of you will be feeling like that there is a girl that you really like, and you really like her, and she warrants your liking, right? She's actually a cool girl,
and it's going well. Mate.
Yeah,
and you're dating her, and it's going well, and you want a girlfriend.
Yeah, those situations will arise. But let's say you actually do want to pursue this girl. At the very least, if you're finding yourself in this position of neediness and over pursuing her, at the very least, stop messaging her now, go out, talk to some other women, rebalance your mindset. Remember that you have opportunities, that you can create opportunities, because you need a wider context. You need a sense of scale. And if you're not approaching other women because you're just pursuing this one woman, your whole sense of scale is focused in on her, and you don't see the forest for the trees. You're stuck in the micro and you don't see the macro level that actually you've got loads of opportunities. She's a good one, but she's not the only one. She doesn't need to consume all of your attention. And when you have that perspective, she will either come back to you, or if she doesn't, you won't need her anymore. Yeah. And you won't care so much that she doesn't. So it is unfortunately one of those things where if you really, really like one girl too much and she's consuming too much of your attention, you have to remind yourself that there are other options, that there are other opportunities. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to get that one that you actually like.
Yeah, and I think the early stages, we touched on it already, but the early stage of the courtship process is super important to not come across as needy. Once you pass a certain threshold and she's clearly into you, you can get away with kind of more needy behaviour, like texting faster, fucking up, being, maybe pouring your emotions out too much sometimes, coming across just bad stuff, bad game. Like, you can get away with it because she's more invested, but it's just, I think those opening exchanges, those first 3-4 dates, I'd actually say one of the hardest things to do is once you've slept with a girl, I see so many guys fuck it up. They sleep with her once, and they just then basically fall in lust with her and just start over messaging and drive her away.
Yeah.
And it's a time that it's a very sensitive time. I always suggest to guys, right, sleep with a girl. I do not message her for the first 48 hours because I want to see as a litmus test, is she going to come back to me? And I can gauge from her how quickly she messaged me or what she messages me, how involved, how into me she is. She might be a game player, and some of them are in hindsight. When I've been seeing them for a period of time, they actually say, yeah, I deliberately didn't message you because I wanted to see what you do because she was playing the game, right? But a lot of women, actually, if they are into you, they'll send you a message quite quickly, maybe even the same evening, saying, hey, thanks for the evening, I got home safe, or maybe the next day. So I'd say just an acid test to not be needy. Do not message her for 48 hours after you've seen with her on that first date. Doesn't matter whether you slept with her or not. And just play the game like that.
Is that your advice for total beginners or to anyone?
I'd say for anyone. Really? I do it as well.
So I don't have any rules about that. If I go on a date with a girl and I want to message her to check she got home safely or to continue a bit of banter that we had in the interaction, I'll just do that. So we're different about that. I don't have any rules about when and where I should message her, because for me, when I put too many rules in place, I start actually overthinking things.
Right.
So I think maybe people's mindsets are different. Again, I'm not prescribing what I think anyone else should do, but for me, I don't have any rules about when I should message her. I let that completely be decided by the sort of flavour of each interaction.
Right.
But I can see why that might be helpful for someone starting out who doesn't have that skeleton and doesn't have that initial direction.
Post-date, yeah, I think post-first date neediness, I see a lot of guys burn it, and a lot of questions I get are based on shit. I think I was too much because they start messaging like 10 times a day, asking her out. And also, I just want to see what she does, because I want to see the impact I have. Because actually, usually, it's an indication of how much she's, from my experience, is how into you she is. Because if she is into you, she'll message you quite quickly off that first date. And there'll be just, look at her actions, not her words. She'll message you quick, and there'll be a big block of text. She'll be asking questions. And in my experience, it is quite an accurate gauge of how into you she is. And then you can kind of calibrate what your next steps are going to be based on that. So I like to do it because it also kills my own neediness.
Yeah.
So I just have that I guess amnesty period. I'm not going to message her for 48 hours. And often the girl will come back, which means you've done something right.
Mm-hmm. So have we given a fair prescription of how to deal with neediness? I think the initial point...
Approach more girls.
Approach more women,
always, if you're feeling needy, just go and interact with more women. They don't have to be stunners. You don't have to be sleeping with them. You don't even need to be closing them, but just practicing flirting, teasing, banter with everyone you're coming across. It's just going to put you in the moment. You're not going to be thinking of this other girl.
Yeah, even just doing the approach is enough to lift you out of that mindset. Just doing
Jumps
it
into
and
the present
nothing.
instead of sitting there watching your phone at home. Oh yeah, that's another point to talk on. So it's something that I do a lot of, which is every girl in my phone book, when I'm speaking to, as soon as I text them, I archive the conversation. And so they're out of sight, out of mind. I do a lot of my business on WhatsApp, so scrolling down, answering different conversations. I can't see any women there. And so they're archived, and then they only pop up and pop into my mind when they message me back.
Interesting.
And it keeps them well out of sight, well out of mind. I'd recommend guys do that instead of opening their phone every 10 minutes going, has she read my message?
Yeah.
I personally, I know we have a different way of methodology for this, but I like to have read receipts on WhatsApp on. So that means you can see the girl is blue tick, she's seen the message, whereas you have it grey tick, which means you can't tell if she's read the message.
That was sort of my out of sight, out of mind equivalent. Was like, I don't want to know. I don't care if she knows, right?
Yeah.
But I see it both ways, and I think there's probably, I guess it's worth experimenting. It's worth trying and seeing what works. I like the archive idea.
It's out of sight, out of mind.
Because you never need to worry about following up on a message.
Because they always pop to the top. And then if it's been a few days, I've forgotten about the girl. I go into my archive. I'm like, oh shit, I need to follow up with that. But I'll send her one more message, just a ping message after 72 hours, just say, hey, how you doing, or something better than that. And then I guess on top of that, I'll ask the girl out twice. If she doesn't play ball, I delete the number.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Because I just keep.
You don't need to. You don't need to.
She's not interested.
You don't want to pretend that you need to. Yeah.
No, move on.
So the one thing I want to say is just to come back to an earlier point, which was that when you started out, you were realising that when women were asking what do, you had nothing to say and you had to make shit up. And then we went back to saying, like, yes, it's important to keep approaching. But also, if you don't have anything interesting going on in your life, but today you went to the gym in the morning, you meditated for 10 minutes, you did something cool in the afternoon, went to a museum or a shop, and you meet this girl now and she says, what do you do in the day? You can at least say that. So there's some motivation to just start today doing shit that you could be proud of telling someone about, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have anything to say, if you've got to make stuff up, that's the core problem, is that you don't have any interests or hobbies. So at the very bare minimum, start focusing on the wealth, health of life. Start exercising in the morning. Start meditating, try and settle your mind down, stretching, eating healthy, and doing something interesting each day. At the very least, so that you've got something to tell someone when they ask you about their day. But really, because that's the basis of a good life, is doing the things that you know are going to make you a better person.
Yeah, and I don't think it needs to be interesting like, I woke up and I did a skydive in the morning, followed by lion wrestling, followed by bear hunting. It's not about that. What we really mean by interesting reality is living a reality you enjoy, that you're passionate about. The old Bukowski thing of find what you love and let it kill you. If you do shit in your day that sucks, you need to sit down and rethink and just think, right, what shit makes me happy in life? And then start mapping that into your reality, because you are the sum of your habits, right? So we both like to stay in shape. So for us, the gym is like a no-brainer every day.
Yeah.
Meditation, no-brainer every day. Speak to a few girls because we enjoy that every day. Work on our business because we've chosen a business we actually enjoy to do.
Yeah.
That is 99 times better than most guys.
Yeah.
Who are just fucking doing a job that sucks, and they've never thought about what puts me in a flow state, what actually makes me happy, right? So these are kind of bigger picture questions, but these are all going to help tap into that neediness element. I think the final thing to mention about neediness is we have a few mutual friends who actually, on the face of it, quite successful people, but basically they've got this smell of dislike of themselves there, so kind of issues around self-esteem and self-worth. And women, that's going to be a major fucking factor which taps into your neediness. Because if you don't feel worthy, then everything you do is going to come across as needy. I believe, and I believe that really it's an interesting one because women can kind of smell it. And we all go through those phases of self-loathing as part of being human. But if that's just a consistent for years on end, that's something that...
But that's why, coming again back to the balance, the guy with a good business that can't get girls thinks that getting girls is the thing that's going to make him happy. The guy that can approach women but's never made a penny in his life thinks that making money is going to make him happy. That's why you need the balance, because you need the reality check that nothing alone is the key to happiness. The key is having a balance of each.
Right.
And that's why you have these billionaires that will go and top themselves in some forlorn country off the east coast of Africa.
Are we thinking about someone in particular?
No, just the general.
What other areas have we got to talk about with the neediness?
Well, I've got to probably address the fact that my disk space is almost gone. It's going to cut off. So to my audience here who are watching, I'm going to cut off now. It's been a pleasure. See you in the next one. And to James's audience,